Hi everybody, today I'm going to be taking you through the nervous system. So the main function of the nervous system is to recognize what's going on around the body and the external environment, coordinate a response to any changes that might be happening within the body or in that environment. This is mainly done to help the body to maintain homeostasis. There are two main parts to our nervous system. The first is called the central nervous system, which is often abbreviated as CNS, and it's made up of the brain and spinal cord. And then you have the peripheral nervous system, which is abbreviated PNS, and that is made up of the various spinal nerves, which will extend out to the extremities all throughout your body. All of these nerves are made up of neurons, which are nerve cells that make up your nervous system. All of those nerves that travel around your body come in three main types. The first are sensory. Sensory neurons carry messages from organs to your central nervous system. Motor neurons are going to carry messages from the central nervous system, and they're going to cause a response to happen somewhere in the body. And then we have interneurons, which connect our motor and sensory neurons, and they are found within the central nervous system. So interneurons are basically what make up your brain and spinal cord. All right, so we're going to take a look at the structure of a neuron. So this is a pretty typical drawing of a neuron. It does not look like your usual cell. There's various parts here. So we have a cell body that is here with the nucleus. These projections are dendrites that look like kind of crazy hair. And then there's a long tail that is an axon that ends in the axon terminal. So we're going to talk about each of these different parts and what they do. So first we'll talk about the dendrites. The dendrites receive information and they send that information down to the cell body. The cell body is where the nucleus and other organelles are located so that the cell can actually stay alive. The nucleus is the control center of the cell, and that's because it contains DNA, which is going to control all of the protein synthesis that needs to happen. And then you have the axon, which is going to send information away from the cell body. Their axon is covered in a fatty material called the myelin sheath that helps to speed up the sending of signals. And then the very end of the axon is called the axon terminal. And this is where special molecules called neurotransmitters will be released, and that will allow a signal to be sent between one neuron and another. The place where two neurons meet is called the synapse. So where the axon of a neuron meets another cell, typically the axon is meeting a dendrite of another neuron, or it's ending at a muscle or organ. There's a gap that is between those two cells. So we have to use chemicals called neurotransmitters to send information to the next cell. So they will do that by being released from the end of the axon, and they'll attach to receptors on the next cell, and that will tell that cell what to do, usually to send another signal. So this is what the synapse looks like. So here you can see that we've got a nerve cell, and there is the end of the axon, and it's connecting to the dendrite of the next one. And if we blow that picture up, we can see that we have neurotransmitters that are going to get released, and they are going to attach to receptors on that cell body, and that's going to tell the cell what to do. All right, so the nerve pathway, a nerve impulse is going to travel from neuron to neuron, and it always goes in one direction. It goes from the dendrites down the cell body, along the axon, to the synapse, to the next cell. And that's always going to be the pathway. So you never have impulses that travel up the axon to the cell body. They always go away from the cell body. All right, and the last thing we're going to talk about is the reflex arc. So a reflex arc is a way for your body to respond to your environment, usually in a very quick manner so that you can be protected. There are 5 main parts to a reflex arc, and those are numbered in this picture, and I'm going to go over those different parts on the next slide. So the first thing that's going to happen is there's going to be a sensory receptor that is stimulated. So let's say you put your hand on something really hot, you're going to feel that it is hot. A sensory neuron is going to send a signal to your spinal cord. So now we have those special different kinds of neurons. This one's going to send one to your spinal cord. Interneurons in your spinal cord are going to connect that sensory neuron to specific motor neurons. That motor neuron is going to send a signal out from the spinal cord down to probably your arm if you're touching something hot. And the effector organ is stimulated, which is going to cause a response. So if you are touching something hot, you want to pull your hand away, that's going to be the response. A very typical reflex that you are probably experienced in your life is the knee-jerk reflex. Is when the doctor hits your knee with a hammer. And when it does that, that's the sensory input. It sends a message up the sensory neuron into the spinal cord. There are your interneurons connecting down a motor neuron to the muscle, which will contract, and that causes your leg to